Now is New York Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, member of the House Border Security Caucus and the House Ways and Means Committee. You know, I was going to start in a slightly different place, but I just heard from Grady, no talk at all in that meeting down in Mexico about fentanyl. Really? No talk about fentanyl? You know, it's the same thing that happened when Biden and his people go to China. No talk about fentanyl. What is it with that? That is harming Americans more than anything else coming from the border right now. 100,000 Americans died as a result of the fentanyl crisis, and they're not talking about it at all. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, it's absolutely outrageous. Thousands of people died alone here in New York City. And it is because of this open border that is allowing for this fentanyl to stream over. It is making the drug cartels billions of dollars a year. And the fact that our president and this administration not only refuses to secure the border, but even refuses to bring up the issue of fentanyl that we know is coming from China in the form of ingredients to Mexico and then over our open border. The president has to do more to be proactive to stop this flow. And it's really concerning because you see so many governments, unfortunately, corrupted by the drug cartels. We've seen convictions of multiple countries, of officials in multiple countries in Central and South America. And the fact that our own administration won't bring it up really begs the question as to why. Why are they continuing to allow the drug cartels to profit off the deaths of American people?
Well, what is your answer to that? You raised the question, why are they not talking about fentanyl? Why are they not bringing this up at major meetings between Mexico and China, et cetera?
You know, I don't know the answer, and that's the problem. The problem is that nobody in this administration will address this issue that we've been sounding the alarm on. We bring in these officials to congressional hearings. They refuse to give us information. Everything they say is classified, perhaps, so they won't disclose the information in public settings. But the reality is Americans are dying. That's the bottom line. And instead of being reactive all the time, let's be proactive. And this is a combination of fentanyl killing Americans that are coming over the border, and then policies in states like New York that release the drug traffickers and dealers back onto the street without bail. I think they just want to have, many of the left-wing Democrats feel that we should just be an open drug society. We see the New York City Council, again, wanting open drug use to be decriminalized in New York City. And that's what the Democrats believe, unfortunately, and people are dying as a result.
Well, the other thing that's been decriminalized is illegal immigration itself through sanctuary cities. Here are some sanctuary city mayors and what they are saying. They're crying for help. Because they can't afford it in their cities because they lure the immigrants in. But let me just play that and get your reaction. Roll tape.
Without real significant investment from our federal government, it won't just be the city of Chicago that won't be able to maintain this mission. It's the entire country that is now at stake.
We cannot continue to do the federal government's job. We have spoken to FEMA and other federal officials who have expressed concern about the border's surge, but not offered additional help. We need action, and we need it now.
Now, Congressman, I know there are costs. It's going to cost New York in the next 3 years $12 billion. The migrants expect the same thing for themselves that citizens are getting, and even more so in some cases. But the expenses are just enormous. It costs $38,000 to educate a kid in K through 12 in New York City right now. $38,000 per kid. You multiply that times the tens of thousands. But don't a lot of these sanctuary cities have to blame themselves for luring the migrants to their cities?
That's right. These mayors, including mine here in New York City, are incentivizing this illegal immigration, incentivizing people to come to New York City because they are offering all sorts of free services. And what I find really troubling about the clip that you played, they're not calling for the border to be secured. They're not calling for this surge to stop. They're not calling for legal immigrants who have been waiting in the line or being further pushed into the justice system to be heard, to have visas and work authorizations given. What they're instead asking for is money. That's all it comes down to. All the Democrat solution is always about more money. They want to continue this problem. They don't care that millions of people are coming into this country unvetted, and that the drugs are coming in as well. What they care about is getting more resources for the city. And so I think their approach is wrong. If I were the mayor, I'd be telling Chuck Schumer, who is the Senate leader, who's from New York City, that he needs to do his job and pass the Border Security Act that the House passed in May, and he's been sitting on since then.
Yes, he has.
That would restore the policies of the previous administration and end what President Biden's been doing by executive order.
You know, the other thing that these Democrat mayors and people in the Senate are blaming is Governor Abbott from Texas for sending migrants, busloads of migrants. They add up to hundreds of migrants being sent into these cities, but that's nothing compared to the tens of thousands, the hundreds of thousands that are coming because of what's happening at the border that the federal government is responsible for. And the mayor of San Diego, or excuse me, not the mayor, he's the supervisor of San Diego, a guy named Jim Desmond. We just saw a soundbite from him in the Reporters Hit a moment ago. 62,000 migrants have come into San Diego in just the past 3 months. And here's what he said about others putting the blame on the Texas governor. Roll that tape.
I really think it's ironic that, the mayors of Chicago and New York and Denver all blame, the state of Texas when it's the border itself. And here in San Diego County, it's the federal government that is dropping people here at a parking lot, basically. And then these people are being helped by our nonprofits who are funded by county and local taxpayer dollars.
And Governor Abbott has responded himself. I just want to read that to you. He says the sheer hypocrisy of these Democrat mayors knows no bounds. They are now going to extreme lengths to avoid fulfilling their self-declared sanctuary city promises, yet they remain silent as President Biden transport migrants all around the country and oftentimes in the cover of night. Has Governor Abbott got it right?
Well, look, Governor Abbott is accounting for maybe 10% of the individuals that are coming to New York City. The reality is, look, it's irrational to think that 10 million people that enter this country are going to stay in one state. Of course, they're going to spread all over the country, and that is exactly why every city is becoming a sanctuary city, is becoming a border city, right? But our mayor is certainly incentivizing this. He has been misinterpreting New York City's right to shelter law, which was meant for homeless New Yorkers, and insisting that it is the responsibility of the taxpayers of New York City to provide all these free services, including free housing at taxpayer expense. When the taxpayers are suffering right now, they can hardly afford to keep their own roofs together for their families. And they are expected now and seeing all these.
Yeah, a lot of those taxpayers are moving out, particularly the ones that provide the most revenue for the cities. Wall Street is moving to Florida and Texas rapidly right now. It's causing tremendous problems for the revenue keepers in New York. Say, not only are they spending billions more on the migrants, but they're getting billions, much more billions less from the taxpayers, particularly those Wall Street titans.
Yeah, look, what's the common thread here, right? In a migration crisis, you have crime skyrocketing in these Democrat-run cities, and you have high taxation that is driving out the middle class in particular, and as you mentioned, jobs and companies as well to lower tax states. These are what Democrat policies are doing to cities like New York, and we need to reverse course. I didn't think that somebody could be a worse mayor than Bill de Blasio, but perhaps we're wrong here, because even Bill de Blasio is building these shelters for actual homeless New Yorkers, not for citizens of other countries. So the mayor really needs to stop incentivizing this mass migration to New York City instead of pointing fingers at everybody else. Right. And he should be telling the senator of his own state, his own city, Chuck Schumer, to do his job. Pass our bill, which we passed in May, or pass your own bill, Senator Schumer, but do something. You see what is happening in your city. You see the mayor saying that it's bankrupting New York. You see the hiring freeze of police officers and services being cut for citizens. We need to do something to address this crisis. House Republicans had a solution, and the Senate should pass it immediately.
All right. In these cities, it really is a race to the bottom. Who's gonna go further towards the bottom? The goalpost keeps moving down further and further. Congresswoman, we've got to leave it at that. Happy New Year to you, and thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Happy New Year.